questions. Here's Junior, he's coming along. So I record them for my own training purposes, and yeah, you know, it's a nice way just to have a collection of the sessions that we have. So here we go. Francis is gone and she's come back. Hello, Junior, welcome.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Let me just see if we are recording. Yeah, no, we are recording. Welcome, Junior. We have Kinga from Switzerland, and we've got Ian from Manchester that are on, and Junior's from Natal in South Africa. And you obviously know Francis from our previous session. So I'll give it another minute and then we'll start and we'll kick off. But it's lovely to have you all here. And yeah, it's as I was just saying, very cold, uncharacteristically cold African day in South Africa today. So yeah.
Rick, I'll be dropping off no later than 1:45, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. Well, I've only got a few slides, and we're going to have a discussion, and it'll be great to have our new participants.
Sorry, yeah. There are some interferences on the line. You're breaking often, so it's very strange. There is a kind of echo.
Okay.
Francis, do you hear that as well?
Have you got an echo?
Yes, I did for a while, but I think it has stopped.
I hope it's not on this side. Maybe if the guys that are not chatting, if you're not chatting, if you can just mute yourselves, and then when you are chatting, then unmute. That would be better. Yeah. Okay, I think we'll start. Okay, Ian, as I say, I know that you there, so if you can participate when I ask questions and you just type it in the inbox, that'll be really cool. So thank you. Okay, so just to give Kinga and Ian a little bit of background, because Junior's joined us before. The series is, okay, here we go. Here's Dylan. There we go. Just got another one person joining us. Let me just see. Hi, Danelle. I can't see you on my screen, but if you're there, just send us a message with a thumbs up that you can hear me. Okay, so let me start. So this is a series of leadership talks, and it's really aimed at people that are in new leadership positions. And what I mean by that is you may be starting a new leadership position at a junior or graduate position. You may be someone in your mid-career who's been in your career for 5 years or more, and you're now promoted into a leadership position, or you might be going into a senior position. And essentially, the series is based on Michael Watkins's a book called The First 90 Days. And it's really around the principles that I like to encourage people to adopt in their new leadership positions. The value of that transition being as quick and as efficient as possible is absolutely massive. There's huge impact on the business, the value that you're bringing into the business, and on your team, and on the wider audience around you. So if one, and this is why I suppose I've always been keen on getting people at a very junior level to understand some of these principles, because they can use them at different levels of their career. They can just apply these same fundamental principles in any new leadership position. And the way why I can account for this is because I had this experience from a very early on in my career, where I had someone give me a blueprint for my leadership, and this was as a junior officer in the army. And whilst not all of it applied to a commercial sense, there were many principles that I learned at that early age that I could apply to my career later on. Donnell, I can now see you. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Very, very welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. And so with these sessions, they last about 45 minutes, and I go through no more than 4 or 5 slides in today's instance. And the idea is to really get as much discussion from yourselves as possible. I really put up the slide, and I ask people to contribute their stories to and sharing those stories, because let's face it, we all learn when we have stories to tell, and we all great listeners of stories. So yeah, we've got Dania. We've just got one more joining us. Dania, thank you so much for joining us. You're very welcome. I'm just introducing everyone and introducing the session. So today's session is really about empowering new leaders and to actually help people engage their teams so much better. And what I normally do is just to give us all a little bit of perspective, I'm going to give you a minute and a half each, just to introduce yourselves and to say where you are and what kind of team you may be leading, or that you have recently led, or just an experience about empowering your team. If you can just give us that as a little bit of perspective from where you are coming from. Junior, I'll start with you, and I'm giving you a minute and a half, and each of us, and then we'll get straight into it. So a recent experience, or the experience that you're in now, and how you go about empowering your team.
Yeah, Rick, probably got different experiences. So basically, at the moment, what we're doing is we basically working as a startup, and we are literally leaders, and a lot of it is based on the Brendan Hay principle. And why we're applying that is very simple, is that we've got so many diversified minds, and everyone's got something to apply. And sometimes in these situations, having an outright leader is not really that applicable.
Right.
So it is situational. So its ability to, different people are closer to certain customers. And so instead of having a central leader that may override other people's views and things, we allow each person to bring in their context from the customer side. And then we eventually make decisions in terms of what needs to happen in the next stage. So that's basically what we're doing now. So it's a little bit of a twist on it. But again, these same principles can work just as well for a new leader who actually need to learn to step back a little bit and then allow the team to actually rise to the fore. And that's what they're trying to say, lead from a back type of thing.
Right. Perfect. Okay. So the one key point I think is so important is that leadership is situational. And in your instance, this leadership model that you're using is appropriate to, is appropriate to the situation that you're currently in. Donnell, I don't know if you've prepared enough yet, but can I ask your situation and a quick introduction from yourself? Minute and a half.
Hi, I'm Donnell from Dravens Healthcare. So we're a home care provider based in United Kingdom, Buckinghamshire. We do domiciliary care and supported living. We also specialize in mental health as well. We have a team of over 40 staff, and we look after 76 service users, which are clients. yeah, this is my first, I think it's, yeah, we're going into the first year of me being a registered manager, and it's been quite a roller coaster, if I must say. I think, one of my main challenges is, because I've been a team leader before I was a registered manager, and I think the challenges that I really encounter is empowering the team, because, I think, with leadership, it's mainly, for me, I just feel that it requires a lot of creativity and initiative, and how to get, my team to have that as well.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Sometimes I feel that the show, everything is on me, but then again, it's about making my team to think like me, if that makes sense, to
Absolutely.
bring ideas to the table, because teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. But yeah,
Fantastic.
that's about it really, from
Yeah.
my side.
Yeah. Oh, well, congratulations on your appointment. And yes, it is a roller coaster. And your little quote about, teamwork is dreamwork, that is fantastic. And you've got a lot of people on your under or in your team. So yeah, I can imagine it's a big challenge. And hopefully you can take something away from this, to help you on that journey. Welcome, Penny. Thank you so much for coming along. Kinga, I'm going to get to you a minute and a half, and just sort of introduce yourself and your current situation.
Yes, of course. Hello, everybody. So I'm Kinga. I'm based in Switzerland, in Zurich, and I am a head of business management for Chief Operating Officer office. So I've been managing for a long time. So, and however, joining here because I think it's a very interesting topic, this 90-day, and we very often in a new role, we have to have a 90-day plan. So I've been managing for 20 years and had many teams, smaller, bigger, also some teams which were dotted line to me. So I've very much learned, thanks to this, so the dotted line, basically the dotted line leadership is much more difficult. So how to engage the teams, basically, is so starting to listen a lot. So I just very much communicate with them and start to listen to ideas, start to gather these ideas and develop the trust. And give them confidence as well, that their ideas are very interesting, that we could implement them. And this is how this progressively, they have this confidence and more they come up with more initiatives and this builds on. So it's a progressive way, to engage people, to get the trust, and actually then the business, everything can boom and can flourish. So this is my way.
Thank you, Kinga. That's fantastic. You've summarized it actually very, very well. Penny, I know you've joined us late, and I'm not putting you in the spot now, but if you'd like to contribute about empowering your team, you've got a minute and a half to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you've empowered your teams. And then we're going to go on to the next slide.
Thank you, Rick. So I work in the industry. I've always sort of been in a leadership role where I've had people working underneath me, where I train them. And one of my most important methods is just to always remember that you never stop learning. So never ever feel that you know it all and you are just the one that's imparting knowledge all the time, and that you are the source of the fountain of knowledge. Always remember that you are just a part in a network, and always remember that you are or should allow yourself to be open to learn from less experienced people who can bring other value. And I find that particularly with me being of the older generation now. I know you wouldn't think it looking at me, I know I look 23. Actually not, I'm 28. So that's also a lie. But I find that we often, in the older generation, dismiss the youth. And I do find that if we open ourselves up to it, we can learn so much about new technology, new ways of thinking, and being a little bit more accepting of others by the youth, because we get quite staid in our ways and in our manners. So I think although you're a leader, you should allow yourself to be led.
Thank you, Pen. That's really good. I liked a little bit about technology and open to learning new technology.
I thought it was A.
That was a sort of personal sort of reflection there. I've got Ian on chat. I'm not sure if he can contribute or not, but I haven't heard from him whether he would like to contribute or not. So I'm going to move on to the next one. But Ian, I hope you're still there and all's good. Okay, so what I wanted to get onto was, you know, building rapport with your team. And essentially, to me, trust is the thing that really or is the glue to any kind of teamwork, in the sense that, certainly in my instance, it was the glue that helped me sleep well at night. If I knew I could trust people to do the things that they promised that they would do, it made my life so much easier. And you're not having to waste time checking on them, asking them if things have been done, and just having that reassurance and knowledge that they've actually done something. But in order to get that trust, I really honestly believe that you have to have communicated exactly what the outcomes are that you desire or that your business requires. And I'm really interested there too in your views, Junior. Just elaborate a little bit on building trust. And I'm not going to read the slides or the headings of the slides, but that kind of gives you a little bit of space to reflect on some of the topics in those, you know, on this particular slide. So you can reflect on that, just about building trust. Can you unmute, please?
Yeah, trust is, we ran a small series that we started and then stopped, but we want to continue again on micromanagement. Micromanagement is the ultimate way that you go and destroy any trustees, first up. Having that close, over the shoulder the whole time, setting narrow rules and things. I think that has been one of the biggest things that has come out of this industrial revolution, if I can put it that way, Henry Ford's and those things. They didn't go out to establish trust with people. They went out to manipulate people in such a way that they can get what their perception was the best out of people. And if you don't have a potential to free think, to add your opinion, to say something, you're not going to experience a how can I say, a participative workforce around you, because you simply haven't built what we refer to as a social contract. And trust is all about creating a social contract. Everybody is focused on the person's performance, personality, job fit, culture fit. But in chasing down that, unfortunately, what they do is they use algorithm approach where you got to fit within a parameter. If you got a certain qualification, you got to be able to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you cannot meet those parameters because those are set very linearly in terms of it does not include your thought process. It doesn't include your actual talent potential to be functioning in that environment. And in doing so, you're trying to perform to a parameter which has been set for you, but you essentially just a number in that thing. And as soon as you struggle to perform, you're going to be looked at very skewed. And the thing is, this is where your first instances will come. Do you have a trust to be able to speak up? Do you have a trust to be able to say, no, I cannot? And that is basically where the whole thing of psychological safety comes from. It's a lack of trust. It's a lack of social contract where you can say, okay, I accept you for who you are and what you are and what your contribution in this part is. But as soon as we use all these other methodologies of them and want to basically make them fit in, you don't trust who you're speaking to. and that's literally how I perceive it in a way, is you show a lack of trust, and in a sense, then it's one hand washes the other hand, what replicates from it. So if I cannot show that trust, that I can give you the initiative and a space to start doing things, or the freedom to speak up, where's it going to come from? So that unwritten social contract never gets established. And the little bit of trust there is coming in initial, it usually gets broken in the onboarding process, because everything is promised in that onboarding process in the actual interview. Nearly 80–90% of it will be destroyed in the first 2–3 months. And then gradually you become aware that self-drive, that optimism or wanting to do things very quickly gets snuffed out.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately what happened to most people.
Yeah. Thanks, Junior. As my fellow guests will understand, Junior is an absolute expert in this, and I love having him on the show. But I am going to spread out the conversation a bit. Tell me, Danelle, are you able to just elaborate? I know you're a relatively new leader in your first year. What
Sorry, but yeah, we have to go on mute, otherwise there is an echo and I can't hear anything. Thank you.
Okay. If anyone is on open, can you just please mute? Danelle, please, could you just elaborate a little bit on how you, in your recently new role, have established your communication channels, and how regularly do you have those communication channels open in a broader sense when you've got more people engaged?
Yeah, so I think for me anyway, I think it's with the staff, so what I normally tend to do is we have supervisions, right? Where staff will air out their concerns, and the first thing I have to obviously do is hear what they're saying, right? And understand what they're saying. And I try not to give high expectations. I've realized in the past that giving high expectations leads the staff not to trust you. So I think just being heard, acknowledging what they're saying, and also being a man of my word. So if I say I'm going to do something for you, I'm going to make sure, and how we review it and measure it is, every 6 weeks we do like a supervision, right? So, they'll come into the office, and I wouldn't want to call them supervisions. I call them open discussions, right? Because then again, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from and to see how I can help. And that's how really I measure, that communication. And, it gets to a point where, the staff can see that, okay, then I was trying, even though we've agreed on something and, it didn't go to plan. They can see that, equally management is working with me, to try to get this sorted. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, at all. I think the key point for me there is the phrase that you used, and that is your team actually being heard. That makes a big difference. So if you can acknowledge what they're saying and you respond to them, you're not always able to satisfy every request that they may have, but at least that they heard and you can acknowledge them. So can you just unmute again, and then I'll ask Kinga to come in on this one about building trust and rapport with your team. And the little headings are, or the dot points, you can cover any one of those discussion points. It's really just there as a prompt for you, Kinga. So if you'd like to join us and come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I very much liked what Donald said about just doing what he promises. Yeah, a man of parole. Somebody who is just doing. I say something, I do it, and I'm going to be exemplary. So this is, I think, that you wanted to say, Donald, and this is exactly that. Just so you listen to your team. Definitely, you have. You know what they do. You exchange with them, but also you have to be exemplary. So the manager or the leader, according to me, must be exemplary and show the good direction and be trustworthy. So this is the way to really develop very good relationship with the teams. So
Yeah.
as a main point.
Yeah. Thank you.
And also not just criticize, so not in terms of criticism. The criticism must be extremely constructive and positive. And this is how you get the trust, according to me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kinga. I think one of the things that I always felt, you know, this is a sort of a personal observation, and that was you know, I was actually in a small, I had smaller teams. They were largely teams of probably up to 12 people. But if it was less than that, certainly I would have discussions with individuals every fortnight. And that would be just a 20-minute chat. And the idea behind that was, hey guys, come in. There's no agenda to this particular meeting. It's really just a friendly discussion to see everything about you. How are things going with you as an individual? It actually gives you a little bit of insight to their out of work situation as well. Not that you're wanting necessarily to pry, but understanding, you know, how they're getting on socially. It might be a person who's recently moved into your new town or your city, and just, you know, finding out about how their weekend was, how things are outside of the office, because that's a very healthy way of showing that you're interested, that you care, and that you can include them. One of the things that I really used to enjoy doing was every month in our team, and as I say, they were relatively small teams, we did a social Friday afternoon thing together. And we would either all go out to a home with an incredible garden, and that had a catering for the day. And we would, you know, have a sort of an afternoon where we could all get together and we played bowls or croquet, or, you know, we had some fun thing together. And each member of the team had a month, that was their month, to organize the social for that particular day. And I found that the bonding, not only with yourself and the team, but with your team members, was exceptional as a result of those bonding afternoons. Now, it may not be possible with every organization, but certainly those social interactions helped a great deal, because it was effectively, you know, say Friday afternoon, it's 3 or 4 hours where you would all get together and have a good time together. Now, it may sound a little bit old-fashioned, but I still think that it's especially true now after COVID, and with a lot of people working from home and perhaps not on site. Danelle, I mean, I doubt whether you see all your team regularly in the office, because as carers, they'd be all over the show. So it may be difficult for you to get people together, but it may be worth something considering, maybe once every 6 months to get everyone together. So I'm going to keep the conversation going, and I'm going to start with you, Penny, on the next one. I'll give you a minute to read through that. And I want to, I'll share something in the meantime about leveraging technology and tools to, you know, to help share information and so on. I use Slack a lot, and I also use WhatsApp for smaller groups. But one of the things, as far as project management is concerned, that I use very successfully with my assistant, who's in Nigeria, is Trello. And I'm not sure if any of you use those technologies when you enhancing your communication and your collaboration with your teams. But certainly, I think, and who would have imagined me living in the middle of nowhere in Southern Africa, you know, talking to all of you from all over the world without technology. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And I think that it works very well. And I want you to add if you've got any technology or ideas around implementing effective team building and brainstorming, through your teams, how you do that and whether you can contribute to perhaps giving us a golden nugget that we can share today. I'll start with you, Penny.
So I've just read through your notes here, and I think, your point that you've got here is about encouraging open dialogue. I think that is so important because I find that in any environment where communication is not good, it opens a door for corridor chit-chat and corridor gossip. And I think that corridor gossip is probably one of the most toxic traits that can creep into any environment, not only a workspace, but in your home space with your children, with your spouse, with your friends, so I think that encouraging the open communication and dialogue is very, very important. However, I think one must, again, just be very careful that you don't open it too much, and the people need to only should know or should hear what they need to know.
Yeah.
Because I think if the dialogue and communication is too open, again, it can open spaces for the gossip.
Misinterpretation.
So, sorry, Rick?
I'm just suggesting their misinterpretation, perhaps.
Exactly. So be very clear in what you communicate. I loved your idea of, having the one-on-ones or the get-togethers and say, how are you? Are you okay? Because so often people don't like to speak free, or they don't feel that you are an approachable person. So I love that idea. But again, and I myself have been in a situation where one of my team members was involved in a personal issue, and I chose to engage with him on this issue. And it became a little bit too much for me I realized at some point that I'd actually overstepped the boundaries, and he was leaning on me too much for encouragement and support. And I was getting phone calls on a Sunday to say, when I was spending time with my family, to say, please, can you meet me? I'm having a meltdown. I need to talk to you now. And I had to then, which was too late, put clear boundaries in place and said, listen, I can't be getting phone calls on a Sunday and leave my family time to come and counsel you. So again, one's got to be very careful how you manage that. So
Thanks, Penny.
I think that's all I have to say.
I think you're quite right. I mean, it's about setting guardrails and guidelines, and perhaps getting people to share information with their colleagues before necessarily coming up to you. Junior has unfortunately had to leave us, so we've got one fewer, but we've still got Ian in the background, and I hope he's still there. I can see he's still there, so we can carry on with this conversation. We'll give it another 10 minutes or so, and we'll get through the next 1 or 2 slides. Kinga, tell us, you are in a large organization. What kind of tools or technological tools do you use to facilitate collaboration at different levels? Let's say, for example, you might have universal tools in the wider organization, but as you get higher up in the organization, you might use different communication tools and techniques.
So no, basically, so what we do is really Zoom. So this is something which is absolutely key, and we do it every day. Okay. We also very much use the concept of town halls, and the town halls can be remote, so which means just online. But we also like to have town halls which are done in the various cities. So it's using technology. It's using also just, we can see. So if we have a town hall in the United States, there is a replay, of course, in the other countries. But we also like to do this in person, so face to face in a room. And Yeah, but really, Zoom is the main technology that we use for the communications, and we use a camera, of course, and we use, you know, the possibilities of I said Zoom, it's Teams. We use the possibility to have like breaking rooms, to do some workshops, etc. So this is the main technology.
Yeah. Okay. And how often do you see, you know, your senior management? Let me put it that way. Obviously, you're a multinational company. How often do you get together that you're actually and being in operation or, you know, in your
So
position?
it's every week. It's every week, as you said. It's one-to-ones with people every week, just
Right.
half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on the agenda.
Right.
And every week for the management committee.
Yeah.
There are once a month we also have like bigger gatherings with extended leadership, and we have specific topics that
Right.
we cover as a larger group.
Yeah.
And we also have very regularly town halls on a quarterly basis. We also have strategy days, just to also to think about with a wider group as well. And then we are together in a smaller group just to discuss the various ideas that the bigger group has suggested. So the communication is extremely key to make sure that everybody just understands that we are at the same level in terms of strategic objectives, and
Yes.
then we cascade it down to the teams. So we also might have some workshops with the teams after a town hall, for example, so that we make sure that people get and understand exactly the objectives and also the updates from the quarter.
Right. Okay, fantastic. That's beautiful. Fantastic insights there into a large organization. Danelle, I'll come back to you. Tell us what are some of the challenges that you're facing as a relatively new leader about leveraging technology and implementing, you know, those brainstorming sessions to your wider audience. If you can come in there, what are some of the challenges that you may be facing?
Okay, so right. Could you repeat that question one more time for me to process it?
Okay. So we're talking about communication and getting
Yep.
people all on the same wavelength, for want of a better word. When you're having, say, planning sessions or information sessions, how are you doing that? And what are some of the obstacles that you may be facing in getting everyone up to the same level? In other words, they're all on the same understanding of what some of, you know, what your planning is.
Yeah, so just to start off, so in terms of communicating with the team, we do weekly meetings. This is normally face to face, right, with the senior team, right? In regards to my director, we have weekly meetings as well with her, which is over Teams. In regards to the rest of the carers, we have monthly meetings. In between, we also have supervisions, which can be done on Zoom or face to face, depending on the capacity, if we have time to see them face to face, or we can do it online. We also do outreaches every Friday. So outreach is open for everyone. So, you know, we're a care company and we work with local authority, but then again, it's not guaranteed work. So
Right.
it requires everyone to be engaged, really. And we've made that very clear to the staff that, listen, we're a family, we're a team. If we don't get enough clients, we won't be able to, you know, to support you guys. Not, we don't put that across as such, but we try to kind of put it in a way where, you know, staff can be engaged in growing the business as well, you know, and there's also incentives that we put in place, a referral program where we, you know, if anyone brings in a client, their, you know, the eligibility of that will be £500, you know, for bringing in that, depending if they meet the criteria or not. I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, it does, certainly.
Yeah.
I think the way you've explained that to me shows that everyone needs to really understand your mission and really what your values are. And obviously, through the work that they are doing, they're actually advertising your conversation. They're actually excuse me, just 1 second. Please just give me 5 minutes. Thank you. I don't often get visitors out here in the country, and I've got a visitor all of a sudden, so please just excuse me. So yeah, so it's really, I think if that were me, the big challenge there is to make sure that everyone is on the same page in terms of what they're offering or what your business is offering and how you can help your colleagues and your staff develop the business. So yeah, thank you so much for coming in there. So guys, I'm going to go on to, I've got one or two more slides quickly that I'm going to show you, but we'll just really skim over these because I'm very conscious of everyone's time. We said about 45 minutes or so. And what I'm going to ask you to consider there with the next particular one is how important it is to actually lead by example. I've always felt that to me is a big challenge. And the reason I say that is because and I've mentioned this before, is what got you to this role is not going to carry you through in your new role because you've actually stepped up a level. It's like going up a ladder. You might have got to the bottom rung, but now you've made the effort to get up to the next rung. You've got to be the leader for the people around you. And how do you do that? How do you lead by example? In this particular instance, I've said that, you know, you've got to demonstrate your passion and enthusiasm for your business. But let's say, and I'm going to ask you, Kinga, if it's an internal appointment, let's say it's an internal appointment and you've been working with your peers for a long time. I'm going to put you on the spot. You've been working with your colleagues and peers for a long time. Now, all of a sudden, you're in charge. You're actually leading the way. Give us some of your experience and insights about a question like that.
So it's a very good question. And I think it's a very difficult position to be in. So yeah, sometimes it's difficult because also not because you have been appointed, you have been promoted, whereas the other haven't. And also so this is the first point. And second point is also about age differences or perspective from people, how they just judge you and consider the level and the quality of your work. Yeah. So yeah. So the thing is, you have to continue to be who you are. You have your core values and you have your professionalism. Okay. So the first you continue this way, because if you have been promoted, of course, it's like a core. And afterwards, you have to, again, what I said at the beginning, it's about just implementing the trust. So listening and respecting others. Yeah. So this is what I've always done. And also authenticity and being honest. So if something goes wrong or something, I feel that something is not just perfect, I'm just having like a really, really very open conversation. So this is what I have done always. Yeah. And I have had the luck that, you know, the companies, the big corporations are a little different. When you are promoted, it comes a little bit naturally because you have the title. You are supported by your bosses. That's right. So perhaps I hadn't really had so much difficulty to do that and to really to move on. Yeah, but however, you have to keep, you know, this sense of being just super professional, being careful at your first steps, listening, and also putting the direction. So what people need is really objectives, what you want to achieve with them. Mm. If you are not clear about the objectives, then you're not going to be trusted. You're not going to be valued. So first is really professional direction, set up objectives, and go ahead and being there and supporting the new team. Yeah.
Kinga, honestly, that's such a beautiful summary for the question. I'm really grateful for that. And it's very clear. I think one of the observations that I've had in situations like that is that people crave leadership. They want someone to step forward and to fill that vacuum of a leadership. Because once people have a leader, they can sort of relax a little bit, I think, you know. And I mean, let's face it, then then someone else is actually making the hard decisions. And if that happens to be you, you've got to be that person. You've got to be that person for them. And I think once you've made it very clear that you're there for a reason, you're there to improve the situation in the team, you're there to actually provide guidance and guardrails and leadership and inspiration for those around you. And if you can be that person, then certainly that transition from a peer to a leader will be much, much easier. So thank you, Kinga. You were very eloquent in your response there. Thank you so much. I'm going to do just the final one, and I'll have to wrap up. And this one's always a toughie. It's always a toughie, and it's around about handling conflict. Now, in one or two of our previous presentations, we did have some conversation about this. And Junior alluded to this earlier, and that was about having a safe space to be able to have disagreements and in fact encourage disagreement respectfully in an organization. We want opposing views. We don't want everyone to be yes people. We want people to come to us with alternative or alternate ideas. And the challenge as a leader is to help mediate that and manage that so that you have a really good outcome for you now, or your organization or your team. I'm going to ask you, Danelle, have you had any instances in the last while that you've managed? And if not, that's perfectly fine. We'll give Penny a go or Kinga a go, just to say, how do you feel when you address a conflict, and how did you manage?
So I mean, the first thing, as a manager, is about understanding when conflict arises, is sticking to the policies really. So I'd really read my policies and kind of use them to guide me to make the right decisions, right? So when conflict arises, which happens all the time, I think it's just about bringing that person in, having that conversation and hear their story, and sticking with the facts. Obviously, whatever happens moving forward would have to be a decision that I'll have to make, with the conclusion of, what's happened. But yeah, I'll leave it to the next person to maybe elaborate on that.
Okay. Well, we'll do a sort of a wrap around this one. And thanks, Danelle, for that. I'll give you a go, Pen. How do you feel about this, about managing conflict? It's always a toughie. If you've got a quick minute or two to respond to that question, and then I'll come to you, Kinga, to wrap up, because you've done so eloquently today.
Yeah, Rick, so strangely, managing conflict is something that I am quite comfortable to do. And the way I normally would address conflict is, again, if there is conflict, number one, often when there's office conflict or company conflict, often you find that there's one particular person or two people who are always involved in the conflict. And you've got to identify who that person is, and perhaps have a chat with that person aside and say, it's becoming a regular that when there's conflict, it seems that you're always involved in this conflict, in the conflict. So how are we going to address this?
Yeah.
What I like to do, that's one issue aside. What I like to do is to call all parties together, and then just sit back and say, look, I'm just going to sit and listen. I'd like the two of you or the three of you or whoever it is just to have a good chat and see if you can try and resolve this on your own.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10 it can be resolved on your own. And talk openly, talk honestly. Don't talk. We're in a safe space here. and that the space is safe.
Yeah.
If that conflict is not able to be resolved just on their own, and it's getting heated, then I would step in. Okay, so please diffuse the situation. We're okay. This is what my point of view is. Listening to you. I think that this is how we should move forward.
Yeah.
And then always just maintain your moral high ground, company policies. I like what you were saying, Danelle, about where the rules. What are the rules? What does the contract say?
Yeah.
Stick to the facts. I think Janelle mentioned stick to the facts. Yes, that's a good one. Make sure your facts are correct.
Thank you, Penny. Thanks, Pen. I appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. Before I come to you, Kinga, I've had quite recently an experience where a consultant to one of the biggest companies in South Africa, I am sort of blowing my own trumpet here now, has come to me on 2 occasions to help just or discuss a potential conflict or a conflict situation that this person had experienced. And we spoke for an hour on both occasions. And what I did was really just listen to her point of view and get a really good understanding of how she felt, and then ask her for what she felt was the solution. And I think that it was perhaps just therapeutic in getting it out into the open and just talking about it and going through some of the options of how this issue could be resolved. And that was really simply me asking lots and lots of questions and her answering by getting an understanding of also what the other person may have been going through. Fortunately, I can say that the following day she went back and resolved this issue quite comfortably and happily, where she felt that both of them felt much better that this obstacle had been moved out of the way. So I really do think it's about listening to people and understanding what the other, walking in the other person's shoes. I know that sounds a little bit simplistic, but where it's in a board situation or a room where there are other personalities and people involved too, and people feel a certain way because they feel they're being humiliated, or they may not be heard, or they may be snubbed, and that's quite difficult to handle. Kinga, I'm going to ask you, please, to wrap up, because I'm sure you've been in situations like this before, and I'm conscious of time. We've got just a minute or two, and thank you so much.
So I'm going to do it quickly. I'm not going to repeat what just Donald and also Penelope said and yourself. So definitely addressing conflict very quickly is important. So with bigger conflicts, as Donald said, there are some tools in HR. So you have to escalate if there is something which is really tricky and problematic. So in big corporations, you have this support from HR. So this is one thing. And in terms of conflicts within a team, I think that's why it's important to build this trust. And very often, so in big corporations, we also have workshops with the teams. And we are also organizing just people so that people understand the other side, as you said, the feelings, how you feel about this, why you have this conflict, because perhaps your personality is different. You might be an introvert, an extrovert. You have to you think differently. So by just doing the workshops on an annual basis, for example, you get to know your people better. You know the communication channels, what fits to this type of person or this type of person. So this understanding just avoids some of the conflicts. However, even if these conflicts arise, it's just like you said, it's just discussing, listening, just understanding the position of a person and ask them what would be the way forward, because we will have to find a solution together.
Yeah.
And yeah, acting very quickly. This is very important. You can't just let things go. Otherwise, it's going to transform into something which is bigger and which might really be very detrimental to the success of the team. So not just also closing eyes on something which perhaps might not be compliant with the rules and the values of the firm is something which is going to undermine the trust longer term. So definitely that's very important. So listen, it was my minute.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, look, we've had a really wonderful discussion today, and I want to thank each and every one. I want to thank Ian in the background. I'm not sure if he's still there, but thanks Ian for coming along. Please connect with us on LinkedIn, and Danelle, I will definitely connect with you, and I think I'm connected with you, Kinga, anyway, so that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Penny, Danelle, Kinga, Ian, and Francis is there somewhere in the background as well. I'm really grateful. Today's conversation was just superb. So I congratulate you guys and thank you so much. And please come back and share your knowledge and skills next week. This is the 10th one. We've got 2 more, and then we've finished a series of 12 leadership chats. And yeah, it was lovely to have you all. And I better go and attend to my visitor because, as I say, I don't get very many.
You said 5 minutes. It's been
Yeah,
more.
I did. But I can hear that in the background. So I better go and say hello to them.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. There she is, Francis. Thank you so much. Okay, that's okay.
All
I've got
right.
to go.
Thank you.
We'll chat again. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, I just want to stop